needing inspections. We've had a just a busy week. So today I want to share with you the top reasons that if you are thinking about investing in real estate, becoming a landlord, I want to give you some top reasons why many landlords fail. Um, I've gotten when I tell you guys that sometimes it's overwhelming because I am a person who is very caring for both sides of the transaction. I'm caring for my owners who are investing in real estate, trying to help people who typically can't afford to buy a property to live in a nice house. And so sometimes what I have experienced in the 30 years of being involved in real estate, helping people to learn how to invest in it, is that first and foremost, people don't care about your property like you would. And so I'm always excited when I'm meeting new investors, but I'm also mindful to make them aware and to assure them that this is not an easy game. And it's not an easy game because a lot of people lie that are in this business. A lot of people will tell you things that are not true just to get you to buy a property. A lot of times, realtors, and it's not even realtors more so. I think it's these wholesalers out here that are selling property that are not licensed, that are consistently not giving factual information to people that are buying it. Yeah, let's say that. It's these wholesalers out here that are not licensed that are giving information to potential buyers that they don't even know the rules of the game. And so what happens is that investors buy or get a property and it ends up being a piece of crap, and they're stuck at that point. And when they're stuck, they're trying to figure out how to get out. And fortunately, we've been around a long time and we have been able to help them to learn how to get out. So if you are learning about real estate investing, this is the spot for you. I've been a licensed realtor for over 20 years and in the business of real estate for 30 plus years. And we have majority of our clients are investors, first time buyers that are interested in the investment portfolio of real estate. And so the first thing that I always share with them is that you got to take this game slow. This is not an overnight success. This is not a get rich quick scheme or theme or anything of that sort. You got to be ready, prepared for the humps, the bumps, the valleys, the just all kind of stuff. And if you are prepared for that, then you will be successful in this business because it's not going to happen overnight. What I share with majority of my clients are these steps that I'm going to share with you today. First and foremost, don't be in a hurry to get a tenant. Okay. Now I know that may sound crazy, but when you are in a hurry to get a tenant, majority of the time you're gonna make the mistake of getting the wrong tenant. Majority of the time you're gonna make the mistake of getting the wrong tenant. A lot of times people, that mortgage becomes due as soon as you buy it. So you're in a hurry to get somebody in there so they can pay that mortgage so you won't have to come out of your pocket. What I want to share with you, time is of the essence because when you choose a tenant that just out of rushing, majority of the time that's going to be a bad tenant. And I have seen it happen many times. Now, we do background checks on everybody that comes through our door, everybody that's interested in buying or renting a property. We do a background check, a full background check, criminal, eviction, credit, social security checks. We do all of that. Why? Because that's how you weed out those people who will come into your property to destroy it. Okay, not all of them, but 99% of them will do that. And so when you're choosing tenants quickly, you risk that getting bad tenants. Bad tenants will destroy your home. They will cause damages. They may not want to leave the home. Then you got to go through calling, getting involved with an attorney, doing an eviction, which it costs a lot of more money than if you had chose the right tenant and just been a little patient and took your time versus rushing trying to get somebody. you would reduce that risk of that. And so it's important to always verify income because people lie. When I tell you these people lie, we check the employer. I've seen false paycheck stubs. I've seen their best friend make them up. I've seen them go on a typewriter and make them up. But when you call the employer, when you check with the employer and you get verified proof of funds that they do have a job, that they got bank statements coming in, that they have a bank account, a lot of times, which is sad, people don't have bank accounts. So sometimes it's kind of hard to verify. They got Cash App. And when I tell y'all I'm so tired of Cash App, people telling me, well, all I have is Cash App. Cash App is not a form of banking. It is a quick intermediary between you and somebody else to try to get cash over to them. It is not a form of banking. Get you a bank account. And if you got too many bounce checks or closed accounts, there are companies, there are banks out there that will give second chance banking. Look into them because you need a bank account, not only for to get verified for funding and stuff. You need to have a bank account because this will help you keep track of who you paying, and it will help just in case the owner per se say that you did not pay your rent. And so you want to have that bank account where it can literally help save you from all kinds of situations. So I really like to make that first and foremost when I am speaking to clients. The first thing that I ask them, do you have a bank account? Because we kind of ask them that in advance. What is your bank account information, so that we can verify that you are a legitimate person. Because most people that take care of their business, they have a bank account. It's just the people that are into, a lot of times, not all times, but a lot of times, these people that don't have a means of having direct deposit or money coming through a financial institution that's FDIC, guaranteed. A lot of times, those are the people that are going to cause problems over time. The second thing that I want to make mention to you that I share with everybody that does business with us is that you want to know the laws where you are buying property at. I work with majority of out of state investors, and they don't know the laws to nothing, especially even what they're doing. And when you know the laws, you can't up and evict somebody just because you don't like them. You can't up and evict somebody just because they got a whole bunch of kids. You can't up and evict somebody or discriminate against somebody because they are on affordable housing like a HUD program and things like that. You just can't do those things. It's against the law. And we make sure we let everybody that we work with know that we don't work in discriminatory practices. Number one, because we didn't been discriminated against before. Plenty of times we're always discriminated against. And so we don't practice that. If that's the way you want to do business, we're not the company or people that you should work with to buy property. And so knowing your local landlord tenant laws, and they vary by state. And so it's very important that you understand wherever you're buying, that you know the laws there. If not, then you will more than likely get in trouble, okay? Because that's the law. You got to follow the law when you are renting, when you are just doing anything as it relates to any type of business that you're in. You got to follow the law. As it relates to late fees, how much you can charge, notices that you can give. And we have a lease. And our lease is attorney backed. And so we feel confident. I run into a lot of companies that are just making their own leases up, and they have some terminology in there. When I get them, I'm like, what the hell is this? So we put our own lease together that is backed by attorneys through the real estate association. So we know that it's going to be backed and followed. A lot of times private landlords, they just put something together. And as a tenant, if you're a tenant and you're signing a lease, pay attention to that. Read thoroughly, because when we give tenants lease, they don't read it. They just sign it because they're in a hurry to get into the property. I encourage you, please read before you sign, because majority of the time the contract does have legal consequences if you don't. So if you're a property owner thinking about buying some property in a different municipality, please make sure you know the laws as it affects where the property that you're buying. Understand that maintenance costs are not cheap. That's number three. Understand that you're going to pay money to make money. Okay. Especially if you're working with the property management company, for the simple reason is that if you got to outsource, insource, or even time and energy, those things are very important that you have to pay attention to. And so I always like to share that, when you are working with a company, you want to pay attention to those things. Um, 1 second, because my husband, when I'm calling him, he ain't available. When he calling me, I'm doing something and I can't talk right now. So he does it to me all the time. Um, so, with that being said, it's so key and important that you understand that you got to have skin in the game when you are buying property, because it's going to cost you money to maintain that property, especially if you are renting it. Unfortunately, as I started off, people don't take care of your property like you do. So, there's going to be broke down things that happen in the house and just normal wear and tear. Those things are going to happen, and you got to be prepared financially to talk to be able to financially afford them if something happens. And so so I want to make you aware of that. That's first and foremost. A lot of times people get into the game and then they think, nothing's going to happen to it. I don't care if you had an inspection or not, things happen, especially if people are utilizing them. And a lot of times houses are vacant. And so people don't think, they're like, oh, I had an inspection. That wasn't broken when we did the inspection, or that was working when we did the inspection. Of course, if nobody is using it, it's gonna work. But when people move into the house and they start using things, it don't work. It's gonna break, especially AC, heating, ceiling fans, doorknobs, toilets. Those things get stopped up. And the more wear and tear you use, sometimes they break, sometimes they don't work. So, as a property owner, you got to know to save some money. Now, in our lease, if we have to send somebody there multiple times and it shows that it's your fault, then eventually you will pay for those repairs. But if it shows it's not your fault, and it's something that's going on in the house that's causing problems, of course, the owner will take care of that under most circumstances. Again, read your lease, know your lease, understand your lease. Also, number four, ignoring preventative maintenance. Roofs need to always be maintained, okay? Because they will leak, especially if you get rain, depending on where you're investing at. We've had so many roofs that end up leaking, and people are like, oh, when I had the inspection, there was nothing wrong with it. Was it raining when you had the inspection? Was it snowing? Was it hailing? Because in the Midwest, we get all that type of weather. We get severe winds, and all it takes is one wind to blow a roof off sometimes. And so we always make them aware, just because you had an inspection, which I always recommend for any property that anybody that purchases through us, get a building inspection. At least you're aware of what's going on with that property. The next one, not documenting property condition properly. That's why it's important to hire somebody that's experienced versus somebody that tells you they've been doing property manager, or just your mom and pop organization. You should hire a licensed realtor. Not only that, somebody that understands property management, that can help you through the hurdles, the humps, and all the burdens that come along with buying property. It's so important to document when tenants move in and when tenants move out. Why? Because things happen throughout the duration. You can notate things that are broken with inspection reports and signed documentation. So, not documenting the proper condition of the property can cost you money, short term and long term. And then the last one I want to get into, you got to stop allowing emotions to control your business transactions. Sometimes you're not going to make money for a whole year. That's the deal with real estate. But it's a tax write-off. And I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, but the purpose of investing in real estate is to get write-offs. If you look at all the wealthy people in America, majority of them invest in real estate. The tax deductions are what save you and make you money. And so hire a licensed CPA, hire a licensed tax professional, hire somebody that know what the heck they're doing, because if they know what they're doing, they can assist you. And when we started our business, and even now, it's hard to find somebody that understands the laws of real estate. It's hard to find somebody that understands real estate, period, especially if you're doing different types of real estate. If you're flipping, wholesaling, short-term rental, if you're a property manager, if you're doing shared housing. I mean, people don't necessarily understand real estate. That's why it's so important to get somebody, to hire somebody. And when in our business over 30 years, I can't tell you how many times we've had to hire a new person to do our taxes. In fact, we're in that process right now, looking for somebody else to do our taxes, because people just don't understand the business of real estate. They may understand other types of business, but real estate is it can be a very confusing piece of vehicle of investing, especially if you don't understand it. That's why it's important to hire people that know what you do, that work with other people that are in that field. Because when you allow your emotions to get over you, I have people that only owned it 3 months. Oh, I want to get out of this business. I want to get out of this business. Well, dang, you only owned it 3 months. You ain't even gave it a chance. It takes time to build wealth. Majority of the time, it does not happen overnight. And I ain't never seen it happen overnight. It typically takes time to build. And you have to have the skin in the game, the guts, the heart, and the stamina to deal with it. Because if not, you won't be in business too long. And just because you invest in another state don't mean this state is the same. Okay, I have people telling me all the time, well, I've been investing in real estate for over 20 years. Good. Have you ever invested in this state? Because if you haven't, states are different, laws are different, management is different. And as a business, people can charge, as long as it's within good terms, they can charge for their services. You got to put that in your business plan. You got to put that on your budget expense, because if you don't, then nobody's going to do stuff for free. And you got to be prepared for that. Either you going to come back and manage your own property, or you're going to hire a professional contractor, person that's licensed. And again, these people, like I tell you, these wholesalers, they get over on people all the time. Before you work with them, and you can work with wholesalers, I'm not saying don't work with them, because a lot of times they get good properties, but hire you a licensed realtor to assist you through the transaction and the process. If not, you'll get stuck like most people that we see. They get stuck, they buy junk, and then that junk causes them problems over time. I even had a client who was buying some property, and the wholesaler, I don't know where they got it from, but the person that they said owned it didn't own it. And so the client came over to us, and thank God that, we have licensed realtors. We were able to look into that property and see who actually owned the property. And come to find out, the wholesaler was trying to get over. And so you got to be prepared for these type of things. And so just to recap, as I was saying, if you are thinking about investing in real estate, be very careful. Understand who you're working with. Choose tenants. Don't choose tenants too quickly, because if you choose them too quickly, you could get a bad tenant, and then that vacancy can be longer. You can have issues in the house, they tear it up, all kind of stuff. Know the laws wherever you're buying, and stop underestimating the maintenance costs. It costs to have property, it costs to own real estate. You got taxes, property taxes, insurance, you got turnover fees, you got management fees. There's so many different fees that are associated with investing in real estate. Stop ignoring your preventative maintenance. Take care of that roof, the HVAC, the plumbing. Those are the things that I recommend that you do in advance as soon as you buy the house. If it's got old, dated stuff, you may want to go, if you got the money, go ahead and do it in advance so you're not suffering with those long-term things in the future. And then not documenting property conditions properly, and that goes into having an inspection. You always want to make sure that you're working with someone who understands what a property should and should not be going through. Like if the roof is caving in, make sure you get pictures of it on a regular basis, okay? If the plumbing is bad, get pictures of that when you buy the property, and then, on a regular time throughout the property, especially if it's old. If it's old, you want to make sure that you're always documenting with that as well. And then, your emotions. Business is not about emotions. You got to get over it. You got to You got to have the skin in the game, and you got to dust your shoulders off, because you're going to run into some problems. And unfortunately, if you can't handle them, if you're quick to get out of it, if you're afraid to be in business, then you should not be in business. You should not be investing in real estate. I'm just being real. 100. Okay. So that is my message for you today. I have promised that I was going to make sure that I do something business related at least once a week. My name is Nikki, and I have been investing in real estate for over 30 years. I have been in real estate over 30 years as well. And if you like anything real estate, then this is the channel for you. I also have Triad Realty Group. You can look that up and go over there and see what we produce over there, document and things of that nature. Again, thanks for checking in. It is Friday. Woohoo! When I tell you I am so happy it is Friday, you better believe me. Okay. I pray that you are having an amazing or had an amazing week. And I pray that you having an amazing weekend. Take care. Blessings and peace until next time. Talk to you later.